I will not pretend as if I am a huge fan of this franchise, because I simply am not. I despise this kind of movie. I despise slasher films. But there's something about Tobin Bell's portrayal of John Kramer. It's something in the voice. I did a video a couple months back talking about the trailer where I said there's something inherently creepy about the voice. It's otherworldly, it's scary, it's, do you want to play a game? It's great, it's brilliant, but for me, that's where the brilliance ends. When they were making the Saw films, they made Saw 1, they made Saw 2. Long story short, they got to Saw 10, Saw X, the movie I'm talking about now. Now, I'm thinking to myself, should I start watching this? Because I watched Spyro and I watched Jigsaw and I didn't like any of them. So I thought to myself, there has to be a code to this. Something has to happen. So I did a little research. It turns out, Saw 1, it was based on Tobin Bell's John Kramer. Saw 2, he was there. Then he was killed off between Saw 2 and Saw 3. Then the other ones that came, the subsequent ones, came and he was not necessarily in there, but they were deriving convoluted ways to get him to feature because he literally carried the series. Everyone loved his portrayal of the character. Everyone loved him because he creeped up the factor by 9. So they would bring back Mfes Uyu using different ways, flashbacks, storytelling, up until they got to a point where it just did not work. Then they gave us Jigsaw. With Jigsaw, we got a small glimpse of him through a flashback. Then Spyro, there was nothing. It was Chris Rock's Spyro, and it was weird because Chris Rock is just difficult to take seriously unless he's making jokes. And jokes are funny, so you don't necessarily take them seriously. If you want to watch if you want to watch Saw chronologically, you're supposed to watch Saw 1, then watch Saw X, because Saw X is a prequel to Saw 2. So time-wise, chronologically, not release-wise, but chronologically in terms of the timeline, you'd watch Saw 1, then you go into Saw X, and then you'd watch everything else. But at the end of the day, it does look and feel like a production that's been made to revive a dead franchise, a franchise that's become lukewarm, a franchise that jumped into the river and forgot that it can't swim and was carried away by the current. That's the problem. So they give us Saw X because Spyro, because Jigsaw were trash, because Zaibo, and then they're like, know what? Everyone loves Tobin Bell. Everyone loves John Kramer. So let's bring John Kramer. The movie is filled with kills that don't feel inspired. There's nothing that's interesting. It's literally you just sitting there and thinking, okay, now I'm going to watch 1 hour 30 minutes of this film and just see people being killed. His vendetta carries no weight because 1, he's already dead, and 2, the essence of what he does, we've learned everything. We've seen the Jigsaw story. There's nothing left to tell. It's just a matter of more people will be killed, and they have to be killed in interesting ways. Now, for the first hour of this film, I was bored. And I told Boygan, and I'm going to, alright, I'm just watching it, but I'm not enjoying it. But the last 30 minutes drew me in because things went horribly wrong. Things went wrong. He was no longer in control because he dabbles in control. When things are going well for him, when his plan is going well for him, when a person is playing the game and is being tested, everything is great, it's fun, it's boring, it's plain, it's passive. But when things started going wrong, it started getting exciting. He's caught. So how is he going to escape? What is he going to do? And then he escapes the thingy, and it turns out it was a huge plan all along. It was great. So the movie's last 30 minutes were pretty okay. But it was actually really lame. Overall, I did not like this movie. I feel like this franchise is done. I feel like it's really done. There's no story left to tell. There's no ground left to cover. There's nothing new left to do. From Spyro, there's another person who's been inspired by the Jigsaw Killer, and he's started doing work. There's no insight we would need to get into this character. There's no insight we would need to get into the motivations of this character because it's already been done. We've already exhausted it. It's the same thing as Scream. Making another Scream movie is just a convoluted ploy to try and steal our money, and we will not have any of that. Because it makes zero sense. Vakapedza kutaura the story, the major story is done. And with Saw, that's exactly the same thing. At least with the Friday the 13th movies, they had the state of mind, they had the insight to end it, to kill off Mfesi Uyu, to kill off Mfesi, because they knew there's no more ground to cover. It's the same thing as this. There's no ground to cover. There's nowhere else to go. So they should stop. It's overly just a tedious movie for the first hour. Then the last 30 minutes, but then at the end of the day, it's a film that we don't really need or want.
John Kramer.
According to these scans, the tumor was never removed.
How much time do I have?
Months, at best.
I still have a lot of work that needs to be done.